welcome. Beer Guys Radio Show. We're live. We're live here. Beer Guys Radio. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch right now streaming. We have Tom Olberding and Nick Ashton here with us from Textile Brewing Company. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing the beers. We're looking forward to getting into all of them. We just opened up your blonde. I believe Cascade is the name of that one, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a beer. We have a town south of Dyersville named Cascade. So Cascade hops in the beer. So it's a nice kind of a way to use.
Get to double dip there.
It all comes together, right? Yeah.
And the folks in Cascade are like, hey, this is a beer named after our town.
Yeah,
let's drink it.
I live in Cascade now, and we have a tap room there as well, and they go crazy for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
I would. Someone needs to make a Woodstock.
A Woodstock?
A Buckhead.
You know what? Yeah. Well, actually, Reformation should make a Woodstock.
They should.
Woodstock.
Woodstock Ale.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah, just do a Woodstock
Easy drinking.
Ale. Easy enough, man. Because people come in, they didn't know what they wanted. If they're in Woodstock, they'll just get it.
It's a pale ale.
Is it a pale ale? All right. Well, they're smart, man.
I'm slow, man.
Nobody's done a Buckhead one yet that I know of.
No, so. Mike Nate telling me how it is.
Exactly.
Man. Telling me how it is.
He's got his finger on the pulse of everything being distributed in Georgia. So.
Somebody's got to.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to keep an eye.
Somebody's got to figure all that out.
Awesome. Well, guys, for those watching the live stream, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them there. We're about to start recording our radio show here, but we will be back when we break and chat with you. So feel free to let us know what you're drinking, ask any questions. Rate Nick and Brian's beards. Who has the greatest beard here?
That's interesting.
There's some difference here in length and color and shape. So
can we put a poll in the stream here and see
a poll like a stripper poll for you and Nick?
Well, I mean, yes, but also a poll as in polling people's opinions on things.
If you told me beforehand, I could have set that up.
Oh, okay.
But now it's too late.
It's
Brian.
too late.
It's too late.
Right.
It's too late.
Next time.
Cool. All right, guys, here we go.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're broadcasting from the Beer Guys Radio Studios in Marietta, Georgia. And this week we're talking to Dyersville, Iowa's Textile Brewing Company. I'm Tim Dennis, and with me, as always, is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Hey, Tim. So joining us today, we have Tim Olberding. Not Tim, Tom. This is difficult.
You got the first name wrong and the last name right. That's
right, Tom.
The easy part I got wrong. So Tom Olberding, the owner of Textile Brewing Company, and Nick Ashton, the head brewer. We're going to talk about classic beer styles, pajamas, footsaroos, and dreamy fields. Tom, Nick, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Those are a lot of hot topics. Man.
Oh, yeah.
We got enough room
dreamy fields and pajamas. I mean,
yes,
come
on. I'm ready for a nap right now.
That's right.
Outside there. So, Brian, I have an update for you.
Okay.
So we have talked NFTs, and Tom and Nick, we talked a little offline. So NFTs are a whole new world for you guys, correct?
Yeah, I don't think they've hit Iowa yet.
Okay, you guys are gonna have to trend set with this insanity here. So I did figure out at least a little bit of kind of the purpose of an NFT because they were just boggling my mind. So I know how they work. They still, for the most part, don't make a whole lot of sense to me. But essentially, Brian, it's just a digital blockchain verifiable record of the ownership of an item, even a digital item.
Okay.
So that's how they were able to do something crazy like sell the first tweet. Still exists out there, but there's only one person that's the actual owner of that.
Yeah, so the actual tweet can be seen by anybody. It could be copied and screenshotted by anybody, but the record itself of the ownership is on the blockchain. It cannot be altered.
That is correct. Yes. Cannot be altered. And so for stuff like that, digital artwork and that, I mean, it's a gray area. To me, it seems like it's clout. You get to say, I own this thing. But, Brian, where it gets crazy is they're doing NFT beers.
Oh, yes.
And you can buy different things. A couple people are kind of playing around with it. And Tom, here's something that I think Iowa's ready for this. I think they're ready for NFT beers. But you could do something like, say, you create a special recipe and you create the artwork for this beer, you could technically sell ownership of that artwork to someone through an NFT, but still use it for your beer labels. You know, it could just be part of that, and there would be a record of the transaction. And I saw another place where it's like they were selling like 99 NFTs, and there are only going to be 99 of these beers made. So you would own the artwork as well as an actual bottle of the beer for purchasing your NFT for whatever value that may be.
Okay. And I hope it's something like a goose that will last for like 20 years in the bottle. Otherwise, you're gonna. Well, I guess you'd own an empty beer bottle at that point in time. Collect them, so that has some value.
But in my opinion, where NFTs can have value is things like you could attach one to the ownership of an expensive wristwatch.
Okay.
And that way, when it's sold or served or moved around, it can be attached to that record, and you have a verifiable, trackable history of that.
And you were also talking about the possibility of that being used in like video games to track things that are purchased in games.
Items.
Which kind of seems wasteful to me. But I mean, if you really like a game and you really want to buy that thing in the game and you need proof of it, there you go. You got your proof.
So Tom, Nick, stick with me here and see if Textile is ready for this.
I'm trying.
You should create a digital in-game beer for some video game.
Oh, there you go.
That only like 1 6-pack of this digital in-game beer and sell it. Do a charity auction. Make a
Nick's the gamer. So maybe he can figure out how to do that.
See how that goes. So
I know there's that gaming studio in Roswell, Georgia, Tripwire, I believe. They did like Killzone and some other crazy stuff.
Okay, I didn't know they
that's
were over
literally
there.
the only gaming developer that I have any local knowledge of.
Any knowledge of there? Gotcha.
So we'll go work with them.
There you go.
See?
Yeah,
easy enough.
That's right.
Easy enough. We can get it done. But
an exclusive Textile Brewing beer in the game. Oh, you can only one person can have it. Maybe share each individual. Maybe you get a 6-pack and you get 6 NFTs, one for each beer. You can share it with your friends or your squad or whatever.
You guys could do it as a package deal. Maybe a loose meat sandwich and a beer to go with it there. So, they don't know nothing about loose meat down here, guys. It doesn't exist down in Georgia. So
it doesn't.
No, it's not a thing here at all. So having grown up in Nebraska, I introduced it. I've made it a few times myself, but we do not have loose meat sandwiches here.
Oh, well,
I think I've had it all of like one time when you made it, maybe twice. Did you make it more than once? Yeah, I think it was just one time. Yeah, it was good. I liked it. I approve of it. Yes,
that's something that I think if you're in Iowa, Nebraska, or whatever, it's just there. But to me, it's very nostalgic, so I talk about it there. But I guess to you guys, you're like, yeah.
It's like that's the thing. Like
that's just what we do.
I haven't had one. I'm still new. I've only been here 2 years, so I actually don't fully know what a loose meat sandwich is. I don't think.
Tom, you are not taking care of the newbies right there.
He brings his lunch every day.
Okay, so all right.
He's a good cook.
Nick, you have to be open to new experiences in terms of foods. You have to embrace the loose meat sandwich.
Embrace the loose meat.
Embrace the loose meat. It's difficult because it is loose meat, but try. Do your best.
See what you can do.
Understand it could be a messy process, but it's a personal development.
It's worth it.
Yes,
it's growth.
Absolutely.
It's all about growth.
It's absolutely growth. Well, Tim, I think it's time we get into the beers of the week.
Brian, as always, we got a great list to get into this week. Excellent beers coming to us from Textile Brewing Company. We are currently drinking, as mentioned, their Cascade Blonde Ale, which is quite tasty. We also have a Vienna Lager. I love a Vienna Lager, Brian.
I do as well.
And you don't see a ton of people doing those. But Vienna Lager that we'll get into, we have a DIPA, a Dripless Double, Blue Suede, which is a kettle sour, and Java Lantern, which is a pumpkin ale. And Brian, I'm going to take a guess that there's coffee in that pumpkin. Tom, would I be correct, or Nick?
You would be correct. Yeah.
That we got some coffee.
Confirmed. Yes.
So it should be good stuff. Definitely looking forward to checking all of those out. Brian, what's going on in the news?
All right, so let's get started with some big news. According to Beer Street Journal, Larry Bell has announced Bell's Brewery has been sold to Japan's Kirin Holding Company. So Kirin's Holding Company is the one that owns Kirin, and they happen to also own New Belgium Brewing, which they bought them, I believe, 2 years ago. In 2019. Additionally, Larry Bell has announced his retirement, which coincides with the sale. Bell's Brewery will remain in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and at the moment, no financial details have been disclosed. So I think there's been speculation that they were thinking about selling. I remember reading something, but I don't have any inside knowledge at all. Was this a surprise to you?
Well, I thought when I read the news, I thought someone had taken a minority stake in them not long ago, a couple years. Maybe does that sound right to you?
You might
Tom
be correct
or Nick,
on that.
Do either you know?
I thought that was the other one up in Michigan there.
Founders.
You
know what? I think
you know it is
Founders.
Right.
I think it is Founders. Yeah.
Was it Founders? Was Mahu San Miguel? Was that right?
I think that's right.
Yeah, that comes to mind. I might not be right on that.
Gotcha.
And I think it was technically more than a lot of people would allow for the quote unquote craft labels. I think it was like 33% or something like that. It was just a little bit technically beyond what they had there. So
it's too bad they weren't Boston beer. They did just change the definition.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm sorry. I should have said that out loud there. So
we love you, Boston beer. Don't hate us.
We do.
Sierra Nevada Celebrations Ale's 40th anniversary. Well, this week we have an even bigger one. Fuggle hops turned 150 this week. The legendary hops first went on sale back in the UK back in 1871, and it's named for the Fuggle brothers, who basically spent 10 years propagating the species up until they had enough to sell. Fuggles were discovered growing in a flower garden randomly in 1861. Today, Fuggle hops are the ancestor of more than 30 different varieties of hops, including Cascade, Citra, Centennial, Nelson Sauvin, and Hugh Melon. Interestingly enough, some trivia, Willamette hops are apparently very identical to Fuggles, except they've been slightly genetically manipulated not to produce seeds, so they're sterile. They're like a sterile version of Fuggles.
Interesting.
So Fuggles were not grown in the Pacific Northwest until 21 years later in 1892. So
crazy.
They've been around forever, and they
I just thought they always existed. I never even thought about Fuggles having a birthday. To me, it's just one that's been there.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of the anniversary of their discovery. They were growing in a garden. They didn't just randomly sprout up there. They were probably growing all over the UK, and just somebody said, "Hey, those are hops. We can use those." So
yeah, not like it's one of those from like HPC or something where they've spliced and diced and that to get into
selective breeding or anything like that. So
interesting. Happy birthday, Fuggles.
Yeah, happy birthday, Fuggles. So according to foodandwine.com, the Empire State Building has its own beer, and you can only buy it on the 86th floor. It's called View from the Top of the Empire State Building, which is really on the nose, and it's a hazy IPA. It's a collaboration between Brooklyn's Five Boroughs Brewing and beer retail chain Kraft and Carry. The limited edition beer will be available for the rest of November at a special cart celebrating the 90th birthday of the Empire State Building. So all sorts of birthdays and anniversaries happening this week.
That's just fancy. You know, Smalls is headed up that way soon.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to see. It would be nice if she went up there and smuggled some out.
I wonder if they'll let you do that. I mean, why wouldn't they? But also maybe they require you to drink it on site. I want her to bring it back, at least an empty can of it, so for collection purposes.
She can do it. We believe in you, Smalls.
We believe in you, Smalls.
Bring us a beer.
Yes.
Well, we do need to take a break. You were listening to the Beer Guys radio show, and we will be back right after this with more from Textile Brewing Company. Clear.
That's tasty.
It is.
Yeah.
Indeed it is. What are you guys sipping on? Do you have a nice cold beer there?
I have a Second Street. It's
cool.
Pale ale. It just a fantastic beer. We're on the corner of Second Street and Second Avenue, so
all right.
Just a really solid American pale ale and one of my favorites.
That sounds confusing, Tom.
Yeah.
The corner of Second Street and Second Avenue.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
All right. The next beer that comes out might have a different hop in it, and we might call it Second Avenue. So
that's what I do.
I'm sure that will not be any more confusing.
Where are you? You call for an Uber or something after you've been there drinking. Where are you? I'm at the corner of Second and Second. Wait, what?
Well, depending on, I don't know the town. Maybe that is perfectly. People say, "Oh yeah, I know exactly."
I'm sure if you're local, you know that.
Yeah, there's 4,200 people in this town, so everybody knows where that is and could probably walk there from anywhere else.
We can't trash talk street names too much here with all our peach trees.
Oh my God,
the variations on peach trees. Yeah. They both know. They spent time here.
Yeah, good stuff. Nick, we'll talk about this more on the show here, but you're from you did time at Sweetwater, right?
Yeah, I worked in the warehouse for a couple years.
Cool. Yeah, we know there's been how long ago did you leave there?
About, I guess, 2.5 years ago. Since I was
when you
doing
went
it over
there,
at Textile.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll bet I wouldn't be surprised if we crossed paths. I mean, it wouldn't have been super obvious, like crazy feeling or anything like that. But yeah, because I did the little tours back through there.
We used to spend. It's changed a good bit in the last years, but like Nick Knock. I'm sure you know Nick Knock.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Nick, we know Nick and
Nick Burgoyne took me through tours a few times there, but I don't know how long ago that's been. Was the
had they opened the Woodlands when you were here?
That's what I was about to ask, because he does the Woodlands, correct?
Yeah. He's moved on now. Nick,
good for him.
Nick is Nick still there? I think the Woodlands has moved on.
Yeah, the Woodlands is not quite the same as it was. I don't know.
But I think Nick may still be doing like wooden cellar.
I would imagine.
Program, right?
I mean, they've got a bunch
they have all the photos and all the other setup. They might as well.
They can't be
there exactly. It's a gorgeous spot.
Possibly be done doing.
Yeah,
possibly wild ales as well. So they need to have somebody there managing. Yeah, I would imagine.
But Nick was our main contact there. Out on the media side, we dealt with Tyler Berta Sarkeesian.
I don't think I knew.
Or Tucker Berta Sarkeesian that was there. Tucker's moved on.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, but now that they're owned by Big Weed.
Yeah.
Well, I heard about that.
Yeah, right.
I think part of a lot of this moving on happened during the pandemic, where things were closed and people were making adjustments, and we didn't know what we're doing. So that people were moving around a fair amount. So things got a little different.
Big changes.
Yeah. But
did they have the restaurant when you were here?
So they had just opened that right when I was leaving.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Yeah. Because I mean, big change with that. That was huge.
Definitely. That was a big project. I remember helping them, move stuff around.
Yeah.
And things for that. So
when that new law passed in 2017, there was someone I moderate a Reddit forum for Atlanta Beer, ATL Beer.
Oh, cool.
And someone commented on there. They're like, I was at a restaurant auction this weekend, and Sweetwater bought like 300 chairs and tables. And I'm like, okay, we know what's coming here then. We see this. And I actually asked Tucker about it. She's like, well, I can't really say anything. Anything is possible.
300 tables and chairs. Like, anything. You could do anything with that. Sick. We're going to build we're going to build a big boat with those.
Time to party.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, when I started at Sweetwater was right when that law changed. So that was a huge, industry shift, right?
Major, man.
It was insane.
Yeah, because when that law, Brian and I visited every brewery and brew pub in the state of Georgia in 2018.
That's crazy.
And I think it was 84.
84, 85. Yeah, about that.
And as of right now, we have like 155 breweries, brew pubs, cideries, and meaderies.
That's awesome. State. That's so cool.
Yeah, so just big growth there.
Can't make claims to have visited all of them in any of the years since.
No, gosh, man, we can't even get to the ones here in the metro area.
Well, we had it pretty lucky before, because the ones that were not very in Atlanta or very close to Atlanta, they were collected in certain select areas. So you could do trips and strategically hit all of them at once. You go to Savannah, hit like 4 or 5 of them, and then where's the
Athens?
Yeah, you had Athens.
Cluster. You had the Augusta,
the Augusta. You had the Columbus, and then what's the place on the coast? I'm forgetting the name of it.
Savannah.
No. Where Hop Soul was, and
Brunswick.
Yeah, Brunswick. Yeah, there we go.
That's kind of Savannah. How I just got a splinter off.
You got a splinter off the table.
Ow.
We had a couple, or there's a couple down there. Like Hop Soul has since closed, but what was the other? I'd actually forgotten. Brackish. There we go.
They were down in St. Mary's, almost Florida.
Oh, so that's even further. I was thinking that was closer to Brunswick than it was. I wasn't driving way for a lot of it, so all right.
Yeah, there were a couple. It's like we had to. It's like, all right, this is a 2-hour trip, but if we're gonna do all of them, let's make this round trip.
But we'd have to do a lot of. My point in bringing all that up is we'd have to do a lot more of those single trip out to remote areas, because they've started popping up in almost any place that doesn't have a nearby brewery, which makes a lot of sense. At a certain point, there ain't no way you could do all of them unless that was your full-time job.
Right.
So, yeah.
Tom, what is the closest big Iowa town to Dyersville?
Well, there aren't really any big Iowa towns. I would say
relatives.
Dubuque probably has, I don't even know, 50,000.
Okay. All right. Decent. Yeah. Decent size town. Sure.
25 miles.
Mm-hmm. We were talking.
We don't talk about minutes when we drive here because, we don't have traffic like you do.
That's it. Yeah, ours is minutes. Sure enough. Yeah, well, you both of you guys know. So
yeah, if you can basically go full speed, it's synonymous, like 50 miles, 50 minutes, or actually you're driving faster than that. Maybe
Cedar Rapids is about an hour, and
okay,
Des Moines about 2.5, 3 hours from here. So that's about what we have. Quad Cities, also.
Oh,
what's
you know
that?
what?
We never talked about
No Mike Nate just, you know what? We'll bring that up. We'll mention that. No Mike Nate is like, you didn't mention what a loose meat sandwich is, so he still has no idea even what one is now.
Nick said he
So
didn't know what it was either.
you know what it is, Nick, or you just haven't had one?
I have a rough idea.
Okay.
I have like a picture in my head of what it might look like.
Okay.
Of what it might look like.
All right.
He's engineered a prototype in his head.
I'm trying to remember the joint that I had in Nebraska. I think it was called Tasty Treat that did them there. And Made Right's the big one, right?
You talking about Made Rights or even ham salad or stuff like that?
Oh, ham salad. Yes. Yeah. Our joint was Tasty Treat, and they would do loose meat.
Yeah.
Loose meat, melt a piece of cheese on it, little mustard and pickle. And that's all you need, really. So
sounds good.
But a loose meat sandwich, Nate, it's kind of like a sloppy Joe that's not sloppy. So you cook it up, and instead of putting a sauce on it, it's
a regular Joe.
Right. Could I have a Joe? I was like, what? But it's like they put broth on it, like chicken broth or beef broth, and then I think horseradish. Do you ever make them, Tom? Do you have a recipe?
I don't make them.
But it's like mustard, ketchup, horseradish, onions, and that, and it just really comes out like a savory loose meat. It's not, you cook it till the juice really goes away, so it's all in the meat, and then you just pile up the stack of meat. When it's done, it's like the consistency of like a taco meat.
Yep.
Wasn't there a specific type of cheese? Was that
just good old American?
Just American
good
cheese.
American
okay.
cheese.
All right. I wasn't sure if that was
that melts nice and smooth on it.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Beef.
Just beef.
Just beef. Yeah. But you know what? For a non-beef eater, you could use another meat. You know that would be allowed. I bet there's a place doing vegan loose meat, and
it's just
tofu.
I feel loose tofu.
Feel hurt by that
loose tofu sandwich.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? The whole point of tofu is it takes on the flavor of anything it's soaked in. Yeah. So I mean, I might try it. Wouldn't be my
grind it up and loose meat.
Or what is it
tofu?
like tempeh or something like that?
Well,
isn't that a fermented like version of tofu? That might be good.
So I don't hear it much now. But a thing that they used to have, they called TVP, textured vegetable protein.
Oh,
and it basically
hearing about this.
It basically had a meaty consistency, so you could do taco meat, chili, and that, and you really wouldn't tell a ton of difference once you got all those seasonings on there. So you could probably loose meat some TVP.
Okay. Well, in case anybody is really into that, there you go. There are your options.
Are you writing these down for your menu there, Tom?
Oh, Nick's going to be bringing them for lunch.
There you go. Okay. All right. You know, all these other places doing crazy beer flavors, I bet no one's done a loose meat flavored beer.
That's a good point.
And there's plenty of reason for that.
And it's a good reason not to. A good point and a good reason not to.
We just want to clarify so you don't get concerned. All of our consulting is free of charge while you're on the show. So, yeah, there will be no invoice attached. Yes. Good deal.
And that's not at all an off flavor. Meat flavors in beer.
This tastes
perfectly
like
normal.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going for. That's exactly what we expect.
Good stuff.
All right.
Cool. All right. Shall we get back into it, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Remember, all episodes are available on demand. So if you missed the broadcast, get the podcast. Beer Guys Radio is available on all popular and unpopular podcasting apps. Now let's get back to Textile Brewing Company.
Textile Brewing Company. We've just opened that Vienna lager I was looking forward to in the first segment. Guys, this is a nice, deep, rich Vienna lager.
Yeah.
Bold. So some of them you see are much more pale. This is a nice rust copper hue.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Brown.
Nick,
yeah.
As the brewer, how would you describe the color of your beer here?
I call it, when I'm describing it to someone, I just call it the amber lager.
Okay, there you go.
Someone who doesn't know too much about.
That's it.
Beers.
This is tasty. I like this. I like this a lot. We had the Cascade Blonde Ale before that.
That's really good,
and that was really enjoyable. I was very confused by the name, but after the explanation of the name,
we know
I got it. Yes, I got it now. The hops are Cascade.
Yep.
And they've got it is selling it in a tap room in Cascade.
Yep.
So there
you know, while we were on break, No Mite Nate asked what loose meat sandwiches were. We never clarified that.
Oh,
you know what? We're going to give you homework, listeners. We're not going to tell you.
Oh, yeah, Google it is
Google.
what Tim is saying.
Find the loose meat sandwiches and learn the greatness of the loose meat sandwich.
The clue is the name.
Picture a sloppy Joe that's not sloppy. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Now you know.
That seems like that would be
a Joe.
More, yeah.
A Joe.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Joe.
Nick, Tom, let's get a little background here, some common ties in that. So both of you have lived in the Atlanta area before. Nick, are you from the area? Is this hometown for you here?
Yeah. I grew up in Roswell.
Grew up in Roswell. Okay. So some Georgia beer experience. What prompted you to leave Atlanta, Georgia, to head to Dyersville, Iowa?
Well, my girlfriend was a graduate student at the University of Iowa. She just finished her degree this past summer. And like I we mentioned on break, I was working at Sweetwater at the time, and I was working just in the warehouse. It was nothing that was really tying me down. And I saw a job opening up in Iowa. I'm like, another brewery. I'm already in a brewery now. I can do that. I can assistant brew. That can't be too hard.
There you go.
And so I shot Tom an email, day I saw that job listing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Tom, you were here. What took you back to Iowa?
A woman.
Oh, okay. That's a classic story. That's
okay.
I grew up in this town, and
okay.
I left for college, and jobs took me other places. I have always loved Dyersville, so it wasn't an issue for me to come back because I love it here. But I was in St. Simon's Island. I was working for a major pharmacy, retail pharmacy company, running a district of pharmacies, and just getting burned out, and had the opportunity to come back, and I jumped on it. So
there's a little more coastline in St. Simon's than there is
in Iowa. Bit. Yeah,
just a bit.
We have Mississippi close by.
There you go. Okay. Okay.
The
yeah, we used to. I mean, there's some nice territory up there. We used to go into the Dakotas and go to the lakes there and hunting, fishing, hiking, all that good stuff.
It does sound good. I do like this. I've heard that there's a proximity to the cattle herds there, which means your beef prices are a little bit better and beef is more prevalent.
Very
so I like
there.
that idea.
Yeah.
Being that far away from the coast gives me pause, but being rewarded with a lot of steak is enough to possibly keep me around.
Steak and corn.
Oh, and
you're pretty welcome. And
I have a beef farmer friend, and I have a quarter of his steer in my freezer right now, so it's kind of nice.
That's what we used
I'm
to
very
do.
jealous, actually.
My dad had a friend that his, as they call it, side hustle these days, he had a small beef farm. So about once a year, he would get in with a buddy. They'd split a cow, and I remember going with him to pick the cow out, load it in a trailer, and taking it to the, we'll call it the processing facility.
The processing facility.
It sounds a little less violent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cow walks in, comes out as steaks. So that's the way that works.
It's a transformation plant.
It is.
Yeah. How about that? So, I took it from what you were saying that you were a pharmacist, right? Effectively, or like managing pharmacies?
I went down there in 2000. I worked in Atlanta area, Canton. I lived in Bridge Mill. One of you guys is from Woodstock. So you probably know where Bridge Mill.
I know the area. Sure enough.
I lived there for 8 years, and then I was managing one of the pharmacies, and ended up going into their program to be a manager, and got promoted down to South Georgia, which was kind of a death sentence from what I was told, but I took the job anyway, and I managed about 18 of their stores down there, but I lived on St. Simon's, which was nice.
Yeah, because I was curious about that, because we've talked to a bunch of people with a bunch of different backgrounds, and I don't know if pharmacists come up with, and I was trying to think, well, is there something in the background of doing that would help you out in some aspects of brewing beer or the process? If you're managing, though, that makes sense because there's going to be a certain amount of management in any business you run. So
I think it all helped me. Yeah, I think it all helped me out. I mean, I have some chemistry background, which when I had to basically have a crash course and learn how to make beer, that helped kind of the learning curve. And then having some management experience helped when we actually opened and, managing people.
Now, on that note, Tom, we did look up your background before starting your brewery. What kind of insanity was in your head to have never brewed before and say, let's start a brewery?
Yeah, in a past relationship, the person I was with just was insistent that we're going to open a brewery in Dyersville.
Okay.
All right. In Dyersville. And I'm like, I'm a pharmacist, I make good money. I want to retire someday. I don't know if I want to take this risk, but just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then we saw this building where, Textile is now, and it looked like it might become a reality. So I was like, well, I better learn how to make beer.
Handy.
So
yes.
I bought Palmer's book on how to make beer and Googled everything else and bought homebrew equipment that mimicked, commercial brewing equipment. So I didn't start with kits. I started right out with, grains and everything. And luckily in Dyersville, there's a lot of beer drinkers and friends of mine. So I made probably 30 batches of beer in a year, and they all helped me drink them. And we kind of learned as we went.
Yeah, friends are very good about helping you sample your beer. But fortunately, you got Nick to join you, who brought years of brewing experience, right, Nick?
Oh yeah, of course. There's many years. No.
Right.
So funny because we interviewed Nick, and I was looking for somebody with some commercial brewing experience because I didn't have any. And I don't know, there's something about Nick. He had a passion for it, and I mean, he could pick a hops out of his head and just tell you exactly what they're gonna smell like, taste like. You know? And I guess just could tell that it wasn't just a job; it was going to be a passion. And I just thought, well, we'll just learn together, and obviously it worked out really well.
Yeah. On that note, Nick, I found some info. Someone you were talking to about your recipe development process, and you don't just start with ingredients. You go back further than that when you come up with a new beer recipe. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I usually try and look a little bit more in the context in which it was made as well. Why was it drank and why was it made? And especially considering we make a lot of classic styles, like our Vienna lager, or even, you can consider a blonde ale, a classic style. So I look at, let's talk about the blonde ale. Why did the blonde ale originate? It was, the American sort of deviation of, the German beers, but they didn't have the lager yeast, so they had to do something else. They fermented warmer, they fermented faster. They only had the American hops. And so I tried to, emulate that in our Cascade Blonde Ale. And something I also try to do with a lot of our beers is use local ingredients. And so I'm using all local Cascade, grown about an hour down the road from us in that one. So, light American hop touch, nice, light, easy drinking body. That's just the conclusion I came to, trying to relate it back to our brand and relate it back to, my philosophies at the same time.
If I saw correctly, you was it art history major?
Yes.
Okay. That, we did a show a couple years ago now with a gentleman named Travis Rupp from Avery. And Travis is known as the beer archaeologist. And he goes literally around the world researching these beers. And he's talked about the evidence of brewing he's found on these archaeological digs. One of my favorite shows ever, Nick. Just so interesting to chase that history back, on it there. So I find that fascinating as well to see not just what the ingredients are in the glass, but what's the story of the beer.
That's a good call. It's a potentially different perspective on beers than most people would take. A lot of it's like, how can we tie in a cool name with a pop culture reference and steal some artwork, perhaps?
Right.
And,
how far can we chase copyright infringement?
And how close can we get it to a hazy IPA, even though it's not a hazy IPA? a lot of that where you wind up, it's like, well, this does taste like a lot of other stuff, but you have cool glassware and, funny artwork and that sort of thing, and a cool name. So it's an interesting perspective on things. I approve of that.
It seems seems to work very well for many breweries to go craziness with it. So kind of back it into a historical approach is pretty cool for sure.
Agreed.
Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take another break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Textile Brewing.
So we didn't really have time for it, but I was going to ask you about what your approach was to the last Saison you did, because we're big fans of Saison. Farmhand Saison. I'm like, I got to know what the background, the approach to making a Saison would be from your perspective. I'm curious about it.
Well, especially since we were from a rural area, which is of course new to me, and the agricultural industry is all very new to me. I wanted to try and do something that was very, very traditional in terms of what the Saison was. So I wanted to make it as light and drinkable as possible, which was proved to be quite a challenge using the Saison yeast. It was the tiniest mash I'd ever done, just to get, the least amount of sugars in there, because that yeast was going to tear right through it. So, I think it was just pale malt and a little bit of wheat, maybe torrefied wheat even, just to keep it even lighter. I think it ended up being 4.7%. I can't remember the hops off the top of my head, but I was going for like a slightly lemony, peppery type thing, pretty traditional.
Lemon pepper?
Yeah. We put lemon pepper in the mash tun. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
It was a fantastic beer.
I was very happy with the result. And I also did a flavored one with a little bit of blueberries and thyme, locally grown thyme.
Oh, now that sounds, of course, I've had blueberry Saisons, but blueberry and thyme, that does sound
sounds
nice.
Good. Yeah.
Sounds tasty.
Cool. Yeah.
I'd never, the one thing we did one time, Nick, that kind of blended, I don't use a lot of like savory ingredients or floral. We did a mead one time with vanilla and lavender in it.
Cool.
And it was stellar.
Was that vanilla, lavender? I think, were blueberries involved in that? Was that? Or was it just vanilla and lavender?
Vanilla lavender.
Anyway, yeah, you know what? That one aged very well. It was initially, I was unsure of like, I don't know how this came out. I'm not sure about it, but later on, marvelous.
Right.
And just marvelous.
It was good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Cool.
Indeed.
Yes, sir. We got something. Stephen Pete, Kettle Rock Brewing. Thank you, sir. We always appreciate you joining us.
Hey, Stephen.
Chatting with us, hoping things are going well for you over there. You know what? I hope Steven doesn't hear me say this, but I know he will. And I know he knows this whether I say it or not. I still got to visit his brewery.
You still do, yes.
And you know what? It looks
he
like
knows you haven't because he's always there.
I know.
Yeah.
But it looks like a gorgeous place as the weather gets colder, because he's got that nice setting area and the fireplace.
Got a fireplace. Yeah.
So we'll have to get over there and hang out.
It's not too far out of town. Now it is other side of town from Marietta. Really. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, I think so.
From Marietta. Yeah.
I think if my map situation in my head works out properly, it's on the other side. So,
gentlemen, what should we go to next?
Yes.
What beer should we open up?
So you're drinking the new Vienna?
We're drinking the Vienna right now. Yep.
Finishing it off, I believe. That's a tiny bit left.
So we got the dip of the kettle sour and the pumpkin ale left.
Try the pumpkin ale.
All right, let's go pumpkin. Let's do it. Nick, are you a Braves fan? Either one of you Braves fans?
No, I don't follow too much baseball, but I'm happy to see Atlanta team actually pull it off.
That's
right.
Yeah.
I followed them when I lived there. I don't really much now, but
when I
grew
lived,
up a Cubs fan, so I kind of
gotcha. I grew up a Royals fan. That was kind of in Nebraska. It's one of the teams that's around there. But when I moved down south, I wasn't like a diehard Royals fan. But I had buddies that were Royals fans, so I was a Royals fan. And then when I moved down south, kind of the same thing with the Braves. It's like, all right, I'll cheer with the other kids there. So
I think because of, as we talked about last week, the proliferation of what was a TBS, the cable network,
it's everywhere.
I think that my real exposure to being in Portland, Oregon, we don't have really much in the way of baseball there at all. Honestly, we don't have a lot of sports there.
You got Seattle?
We'd have like, what would it be? The Mariners up there.
Yeah.
It would be the closest thing. And like, but the Braves, and they were hitting right in the mid 90s when I was younger and more impressionable. So I was kind of down with it.
That was when they were America's team. With
exactly.
That mid-90s period.
So I bought into that. I was down with that. So in a way, I was on the bandwagon before any of the rest of you were on the bandwagon.
That's right. Yeah.
We have no sports, pro sports in Iowa like Nebraska.
Right.
So,
I know that feeling. I know.
Around here are usually either Cubs fans, Cardinals fans.
Those
are the two main ones. We have some Brewers and some Twins fans, but mainly it's Cubs, Cardinals, and it's a big rivalry, even here in Eastern Iowa.
Yeah.
I feel like you almost have to be a Brewers fan just because of the name. I mean,
just to do it right. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Let's see.
We're on segment 3, correct?
We are going into segment 3.
Okay.
All right. Nate, think we're ready to rock and roll, man. Let's do this.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, WQEE 99 Rock the Key, 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. Catch Beer Guys Radio on 99 Rock the Key every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let's get back to Textile Brewing Company.
Tom and Nick, I think I need to throw this out. I need to make sure that I make this perfectly clear because I had a little fun with you guys being new to brewing and starting a brewery and coming in there. All of the beers we've tried so far have been absolutely stellar. I mean, so we've had the Blonde Ale, we've had the Vienna, both super tasty beers. And I just got my first sip of the Java Lantern. That's excellent as well. Not a style I pick up very often, but it's hitting it. It's hitting.
Yeah.
I don't like necessarily the pumpkin beers myself, but what our philosophy is, we don't overly fruit or overly flavor our beers. We still want them to taste like beer. You get a lot of sours that they just taste like a fruit bomb. We take pride in our beer, and so we just lightly flavor our beer, so you get the essence of what you're tasting there, but it's always a beer at the end of the day. So
right, I want my fruited sours where I can pour them out onto the table and they just stand up without a glass. Like you don't even need a glass.
Have it with a fork and a knife.
We've talked about it, Brian. Push pop from Cherry Street that I like. It's like drinking a liquid push pop. And I went out there and I drank one. I'm like, wow, that's super, super tasty. And I think I was on my second one before it struck me, I don't taste beer in this
at all.
This is liquid candy that I'm drinking right now. It's not that it didn't taste good. It tasted great. But if you're looking to appreciate the beer that's there, that wasn't necessarily there.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy. It was a lactose IPA. Sure. It was basically a creamsicle
cream,
IPA.
Lactose, all that good stuff. But when you get one where the fruit notes are there and you can still taste and appreciate the base beer, I dig that as well. I'm equal opportunity most of the time.
So I know you guys do some lactose IPAs. How do you make that work without going over the top and turning it into something that doesn't anymore taste like beer?
I try to make sure there's a strong hop profile to it. Make sure it's IPA flavored, and then I'll add the rest of the flavors. It's still a hazy IPA at the end of the day, but I think even our core hazy IPA has a nice little hop backbone. Not overbearing, but it's present, certainly.
And the milkshake IPAs, we add lactose like everybody else, but we don't we don't overdo it. I think it just has a good balance.
Now, are either of you guys fans of drinking those, or are you just serving the people with those styles?
It's funny, when I go to other breweries, I'll drink their hazies and I'll try their milkshakes, but when I'm at Textile, I just drink our traditional stuff. I love New Vienna. It's probably my favorite go-to. And Second Street when we have it on tap. But I do drink them other places, and I like ours. They're very good. It's just not what I drink when I'm there.
not picking up all the time. Understood. Nick, how about you, man? What do you drink when you're off the or on the clock? You know, when you're brewing or
you're
not
at a
brewing,
brewery.
what you drinking?
Yeah.
Well, I don't drink on the clock, but when I'm off the clock, at Textile, I like to drink what's new, honestly.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
When I'm back at home, I'll try to buy local. I honestly drink a lot of lighter beers. I try to do maybe a little hoppier, West Coasty. The Celebration is out. I think you guys already mentioned that.
It is.
Today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I already got some in my fridge. I'm sure you too. So, I don't know. I try to diversify my palate as well. I try to get a little bit of everything.
Okay. Makes sense.
I'm on my second 6-pack of Celebration.
the Celebration.
I picked one up from here, and
sure.
I picked up another. I will drink it incessantly until it disappears.
I haven't tried it this year yet.
Oh,
I have to get caught up.
I think we might still have one in the fridge if I
didn't
drink all of them. Yeah.
So Nick remembers every beer he's ever drank. I don't know how he does it, but
I don't know.
I was in Georgia a few weeks ago and I had some beers and he's like, "What'd you have?" I'm like, I don't remember, but they were good, So.
Like what?
Yeah.
What? Nick, now that Roswell's got one of the greatest breweries in the state now, not just by my account, but a lot of people. Bavarian Brewing.
Oh yeah.
Open there. So just stellar.
Were you able to stop by there when you were still here?
They'd been open for a couple of years when I was still living here. So I frequented there. Right. That was my main spot. I was there all the time.
Yeah, that's right, because they just had their 4th anniversary.
That's correct.
It's crazy how fast, Nick, that 4 years can fly by you there.
I was still kind of thinking they were about 2 years old.
Yeah, but that's, Matt and Lauren that started the brewery there, they're old. Matt and I used to compete in homebrew competitions before he went pro. And it frustrated the heck out of me because if we entered the same category, if I got second, I can tell you who got first almost every time. I mean, he's always been super talented, just a great brewer. I knew when he opened up there that would be a winner. Collaboration
brew with him, and I saw that in his basement of his house, he had basically
a
small scale brew pub. Like you could have an actual breweries or brew pubs have open with the gear he was using, and with a similar amount of space in his basement. That was amazing.
It was. Yeah, he did it up.
No, he would do extremely well. So what's we've heard what you guys enjoy drinking when you're at the brewery. What's the most popular beer there? What's really selling there for the locals? And
well, it's a Busch Light town. It's really a Busch Light state.
Yeah.
So, before we opened, we did some polls to find out, what people wanted, and just talking to friends, and they want. We're just worried that, if we made a lot of, heavier beers and IPAs, that we'd have a difficult time. So, we produced a couple of lighter beers. Dyersville is one of them. I know we're pretty original with our names, but
crazy madness there.
But Dyersville is a light lager, and it's kind of indicative of the town and what they like to drink. So I thought it was an appropriate name. That's probably our most popular beer. New Vienna's right up there. It's really kind of a gateway beer for the people that come in and they start drinking Dyersville. And like, have you ever tried New Vienna? Because it's really an approachable amber beer, and a lot of people see dark beers and they think they're heavy and they're high in alcohol, and that's just not the case in a lot of them. So New Vienna is very popular. Cascade has actually taken off. We just started making that one about a year ago, and it's really taken off. Steam Ripper is our hazy IPA, and that's probably we sell a lot of that. So that's people who like the IPAs, that's generally where they go.
I feel like this is a question I ask a lot, and I don't want to sound like a broken record on here, but is there much of a craft scene in Dyersville? Do you have people that are craft crazies, craft nerds, or is it just beer drinkers?
We're working on it.
We're working on it. Honestly, it's been an amazing transformation over the last 2 years. I mean, I had people telling me that we weren't going to make it if we didn't have Busch Light on tap, and I said, well, if I own a donut shop, am I going to have Dunkin' Donuts next to my donuts because I don't think mine are going to sell? I mean, you don't do that. I said, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to have a light beer for you to drink, and you're going to love it. And that's what's happened. We have a bar up the street, and people who just insist on the Bud Lights and Busch Lights, we'll go up there. But
go up there, huh?
Business
yeah, makes sense.
Fantastic, and we are drawing people in from other places around Eastern Iowa and around the state. That, like you said, the beer is so good. The building is really cool. So we get a lot of people, visitors. On a Saturday afternoon, there might be 100 people in there, and I may not recognize 5 of them. So it's really neat.
That's cool. You know, you mentioned your building, Tom, so I think that's a good point to kind of talk about that. Kind of a cool story. So it opened, was it 1908? Am I correct?
1908. It was a gasoline engine manufacturing plant. That's when it opened.
Okay.
In 1911, it became a sewing factory. So this H.B. Glover had a sewing factory a couple blocks away, a much smaller building, and he moved his things down there. And from 1911 until 2017, it was a sewing factory.
That's crazy.
That's
Were they gas-powered sewing machines? That's what I want to know, because if they took over
400 horsepower sewing machines.
We have some really cool pictures from the early 1900s of ladies were working in there, and just pictures of the building. We tried to recreate what it was like back then, and it had white panels all over the walls and ceiling when we bought it, and we peeled these panels away, and the shiplap was underneath, and it was amazing. So we didn't do anything to it. All of the tables are old cutting tables, old sewing machines. It's just a really neat historic building that some people come just to see that and eat the pretzels, and other people come for the beer. And
they all sound like good things to me.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm sure you found little trinkets as you went through the building. What's the coolest thing you found when you were repurposing the building?
There was for me personally, there was a poster on. We peeled the white panels back, and there was a poster from Woodrow Wilson from World War I. They just put the panel right over it.
Okay.
And it was telling the ladies to work hard for our troops to bring them home safe from World War I.
How about that?
And that was. I mean,
that would be cool. I would dig that.
That is pretty cool. Yeah.
You are listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take us another break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Textile Brewing Company. Cool.
So am I correct in thinking, or what I read, that a lot of what was made at that sewing factory was in fact pajamas? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. The pajama factory.
So during World War I, they made flannel shirts for the troops, but the majority of the early 1900s to the mid 1900s was pajamas, and it was known as the pajama factory.
Okay.
When I realized that was what was going on, a lot of things about like the beer names and the history of the building and a lot of that all tied together. I'm like, oh, I get it now. I get it, because you've got several, I think, pajama or sewing themed beers in there.
Yeah,
so
we tried.
It took me a second to figure all that out, but I got there eventually.
We try and name them after something like that.
Understand.
We have a pajama party coming out here. We have Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal in this milkshake IPA. So that's.
Are you having a pajama party for the release?
Oh, you should.
Nick and I did what do you call that, Nick? What we did? We did like a
sleepover. Let's build a fort.
I was actually going to ask about that on the show, but yes.
We wore pajamas, and somebody was filming us, and we were laying on top of the grain asleep, and then we woke up. And
that's beautiful, man. That is beautiful.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal and beer.
Yeah.
Well, they're the footy kinds with the back flap and all that.
Couldn't find those, but
we were flannel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red and black on there.
I have Nick with his flap open, looking over his shoulder like this.
Morning. It's morning.
Nick, did you see the Georgia Brewers Guild calendar where they did essentially that with brewers? So
that's a good idea.
Gosh, they had. I remember Will Avery had like Daisy Duke shorts on and his brewer boots.
Oh.
Daisy Dukes and brewer boots, and he's like standing in the mash tun, arching his back or something like
that.
So, Tim Schiavone was on there. Tim Schiavone did one, but it was a fundraiser calendar for the guild with like rough and tumble brewers in sexy poses.
A lot of beards, a lot of hair, and a lot of like skimpy clothes.
Hilarious and disturbing. I'll never recover from seeing that calendar.
That goes back a few years. If you're talking Will Avery, that's 4 or 5 years
ish.
Yeah, that's a ways back there. So
pre SB 63.
Yeah, it
which
would
would
have
be
been
5 years at least.
It would have been.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. We're getting ready to go in the last segment. We just had some general chit chat about your beers. We were going to. I think we've covered. We haven't mentioned Field of Dreams. I think it's cool. I think it's worth making a mention.
We should mention
it in there. But is there anything that we have not mentioned you want us to make sure that we mention?
Nick?
We do a lot of local collaborations. I always try to work with a lot of local ingredients.
All right.
I honestly think every single beer that I gave you guys has a little bit of local hop in it.
Okay. All right.
We should ask about. I was gonna, but the conversation kept flowing.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned locally grown Cascade hops. I'm like, they grow Cascade in Iowa. What's going on there?
Did they grow them in Cascade? Because that would just be too many levels there.
Cascade grown within Cascade.
We got our barley from Cascade. Actually.
Okay.
There's one place in Iowa that malts barley.
I was going to ask you,
and they malt it.
Okay.
So we try and use it when we can, but we have a beer. What was the beer we pretty much had all Iowa in except for
Driftless? Well, the one we sent you, the double IPA.
That's pretty cool, man.
Oh, we should have the Driftless next then.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's friggin' do it, man.
Yeah, because I believe we
got
got
sour for last. Save the sour for last. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
One moment.
I gotta check something.
Okay.
Okay, we're checking something recording. 1
second.
second.
Just something.
I forgot which.
Okay. Cool.
Other than that, I think the fact that the women walked out of the brewery or out of the sewing factory in 1916 over a pay discrepancy, and it became a book and a movie with Doris Day in it, and all of that actually took place in our building.
Order. Okay. Cool. We're good.
You got it? Okay. Are we good? I think we're back.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Technical glitch.
Verified.
Technical thing.
Verified.
All right. Driftless double.
We talked about, and Tom is horribly excited at my mention of loose meat sandwiches because I got horribly excited at my mention of loose meat sandwiches.
Tim gets horribly excited about that when people that know nothing about it are around. He'll just start talking about loose meat sandwiches.
No, I usually find a connection there, but I do like talking about that. You know what? Every place has got its little things,
Yeah.
Like Atlanta right now, lemon pepper wings.
Yes.
Are Atlanta. That's Atlanta. Get your lemon pepper wings in general, specifically lemon pepper wet.
What's the place that has the special fry sauce that nobody else in the world has?
Arby's.
It's Arby's, but it's like
Wait, are you talking here?
Like
or?
one state, like has a special.
So when I went out to Utah, and I don't know if it's any of the other Western states, or actually the way I found out about this, I had a friend from Utah that moved to Arkansas when I lived in Arkansas. And we went into Arby's and we ordered our food, and he said, "Can I get some fry sauce?" And the cashier goes, "Do you mean ketchup?" And he's like, "No, fry sauce." And she's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And he looks to me, he said, "Do you not have fry sauce?" I'm like, "I've never heard of that in my life." So out west, because I went to visit him out there before, it comes in packets. It's essentially like ketchup, mayonnaise, and vinegar, and I think maybe sugar blended together. And apparently Arby's is known to have the best fry sauce. But if I remember correctly, McDonald's, Arby's, all of them has like packets of fry sauce.
So you said that was out in Utah on the
That
west?
was in Utah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's the thing there.
Well, the thing here is probably Canadian bacon and sauerkraut pizza. I would say that's probably one of our.
And sauerkraut pizza.
You know what?
I am
I'm on board with this, Tom. I am on board with this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Canadian bacon and
Community
sauerkraut
is probably 95% German.
Okay.
So,
all right.
That's probably part of it, but yeah.
So with the sauerkraut, do you apply that post the cooking of the pizza, or pre-cooking?
On top of the cheese, and it just kind of burns, and yeah, it's awesome.
How about that? I've never even thought of that.
Did they use pizza sauce?
Yeah.
So pizza
regular
sauce?
Pizza with Canadian bacon.
Yeah.
Cheese, cheese, Canadian bacon, and then you put the sauerkraut on top.
I'm on board. I'm on board with this.
I'm writing it down.
I think Brian's actually taking notes.
Even chains like that wouldn't carry it anywhere else. they make it around here.
I'm writing it down because I'm intrigued. But I during the pandemic, one of the things I did do, I think we did a bunch of fermentation things with food.
A lot, yeah.
I still do sauerkraut at home,
Yep,
so oh my god, I would like to apply. I would take regular pizza that I buy and throw sauerkraut on it now and cook it in the toaster oven just to see what it's like.
Just drain it and
drain it.
Okay. Water out of it. Otherwise, the crust will get soggy.
Yeah, it'll get soggy.
Just order you a plain pizza with Canadian bacon.
Ooh,
let it cool down. Load it with your kraut and put it in the oven. And
this reminds me, I need to make a new batch of kraut because I'm nearly out because I put it on every sandwich I make because every sandwich you make, if you put kraut on it, it's better. It goes from being this is boring and sad to being, oh my god, this is amazing.
This is gourmet.
Yeah, this is gourmet stuff right here.
That's right.
Love it. And probiotic.
And yes, if you don't cook it, as long as you don't cook them
if you put it on pizza, it's probably less probiotic.
Going back to Arby's, have you guys heard that Arby's is making
vodka, French fry vodka.
French fry vodka.
And the crinkle and I saw that both for crinkle and curly. Crazy.
So everybody can hear it. Arby's is making a French fry vodka, and I thought about putting it in the news, even though it's not beer news, because it's so out there.
It's crazy.
And what I want is somebody to take like a chocolate frosty vodka and mix a fry vodka with it, so you get the fry dipped in chocolate
that's
sauce.
That's got to be a shot. I
so
mean, that's
got to be a shot.
Curly fry vodka or the regular fry?
You know what? I think it's got to be. You're crossing the streams there. You're taking Arby's fries and Wendy's.
Oh, is it a Wendy's thing that you do that with? Because it's
Wendy's
not something I typically.
The frosty.
Oh yeah. Okay, but fries and
it would be. You know what? I don't think either of those are appropriate. You got to have the old straight fries. I guess you could use the crinkle, but you know that crinkle fries are a product of the devil, as I've explained before.
I've heard this, but once they're in vodka, they no longer have crinkles, Tim. So it's irrelevant. The geometry is completely
crazy,
completely irrelevant. They are formless. It's void. So it's just a flavor.
The worst of the fries.
That's the worst of the fries. I can taste
crinkle and then curly.
I can taste the crinkle in these fries, says Tim as he sips the vodka. Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yes. All right.
Oh, you didn't think you'd be talking about this tonight, did you?
Now, Tom, do you ever make kraut?
No. I got a buddy who always gives me a couple cans or jars.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't have a place to do it. And
we had a brewery here that cultured their lactobacillus.
Oh, cool.
And they cultured their lactobacillus off of some sauerkraut.
Oh.
So kind of wrecking bar.
Wrecking bar?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That sounds like something they would do.
Nick,
you would know.
Forgetting. Yeah, you know.
Actually, they would both know. Wrecking Bar's been around forever.
Been around a while.
You guys both are aware of that.
I could see them doing that. They always do cool out there stuff, like between their kitchen and their brew house.
Amazing! Awesome. Come on down December 4th. They're having Strong Beer Fest there.
Yeah,
so
we'll be there.
Come on back to Georgia.
I won't be there December 4th. I'll be there like Christmas time.
3 weeks later. I was gonna say right.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I got to say, I've had a good amount of sauerkraut over the years. Not a ton. I wasn't really that into it until I started making it. And something about making your own, and especially if you let it go, you let it ferment for a while. I think it gets beyond what
funkadasical.
There's what you get out of a store, which is kind of fast turnaround. And then there's
sour. It's not the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And then there's complexity that develops as it spends a few more weeks fermenting. And then at a certain point, you realize, like, this is where I want it, and I don't want it to get any kind of less crunchy than this. And then you jar it off and throw it in the fridge, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Since we're on the subject of things that are delicious, Tom, I noticed your Instagram was pretzel heavy, and I just want you to know I approve of that, first of all. And I was watching a video interview you did with someone else, and it looked like there were pretzels just kind of hung behind the bar, like decorative pretzels there. And
people want to know how big our pretzels are. They always ask when they order, how big are your pretzels? We just point at those.
Right there. They're
about that big.
Yeah. Now, are these scratch pretzels made at Textile?
No, they're Bavarian pretzels.
Okay.
We get them from a distributor, but they're shipped over from Bavaria, and they're pre-made. Our kitchen, when we opened, we just wanted to have food. That was what we were told. Just have some food. We don't care what the food is. And we kind of wanted to have a minimal menu, and we went with these big Bavarian pretzels, and we make our own beer cheese, which people want us to sell.
Okay.
then we have flatbreads about football shape, and then we have cauliflower crust.
Okay.
And that's really all and pretzel bites, and that's really all we serve. But
you really don't need.
No, you really don't.
You know,
we put pepperoni on our pretzels. We put
That's what I was going to say.
Stuff on there. Yeah.
I saw the picture of the pepperoni and the pretzel. I'm like, did they come that way, or was that your creation?
I want a sauerkraut Canadian bacon pretzel. Yeah,
we have that. Yeah.
Okay.
Canadian bacon and sauerkraut pretzel.
Me in, man. Brian,
hard to get it to stay on top
there
of the pretzel, but they're pretty good at it.
That's where, I'm sure you guys, but you remember 5 Seasons Brewing here?
Yeah.
So that used to be one of my favorite places to go for Oktoberfest, because they would I think they used their spent grain that they milled and did their pretzels with.
They did, yeah.
And they'd have of course, the schnitzel and the bratwurst and the Schweinhaxe and all that. Just a big German feast. And they did all you can eat for like one price, and all you can eat and drink. It was seriously like $45, wasn't it? I mean, like you got, it was a fairly ridiculously low price.
It might have been less than that. It might have been like $39.99 or something like that. It was a good deal.
I'm just going to say that.
There.
What's that?
There's no decision to make.
No,
it's obvious what you have to do.
Two thick boys like us, we got our money's worth out of it, man. We got our money's worth.
And that Schweinhaxe was huge. It was like that crispy, crunchy.
Crawford's out there. You guys go. Get out of here.
Yeah, it's like, you leave. You've eaten too much. Get out. It's like, all you can eat is not all you can eat for you.
Right. Brian's eating every pig knuckle in the house.
That's right. It's for normal people. You guys need to leave.
Every Hoxa is gone.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, gents. How about we get into this last segment here?
We got to.
What?
We got to mention that thing right there, since I teased it up front.
Okay. Yeah. Just work it in there.
FYI.
Work it, Brian. Work it. Ready?
Nervous.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/Beer Guys. Patrons get cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's get back to Textile Brewing Company.
Textile Brewing. We've got a lot to fit in here, Brian.
We do.
We've got to chat, and so we're going to talk about collaborations, local ingredients, futsaroos.
Yes.
Did I? Is it futsaroo?
Futsaroo, yeah.
Futsaroo,
Tom.
Tom.
Behind that, yeah.
We're just going to tear right into this. What in the world?
Yes.
Is a futsaroo?
Well, another area food item is a scotcheroo. I don't know if you ever. It's like
never heard of it.
That's a new one for me. Yeah. Okay.
Like a souped up. What are those called, Nick?
Rice Krispie treat.
Rice Krispie treat.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Peanut butter and butterscotch and all that in with the Rice Krispies. And my sister, who my dad nicknamed Futsy when she was real little, she makes the best scotcheroos I've ever had. So I just called it Futsaroo.
Okay. All right. So I take this as a beer that's a butterscotchery, peanut buttery.
Supposed to kind of mimic the scotcheroo, in a beer.
Okay.
So what's the base beer on that?
It's an oatmeal stout.
Oh, an oatmeal stout. Okay. All right. I can see that. Yeah.
I'm on board.
Yeah. Is that something that's regularly available, or is that kind of a seasonal deal?
It's more seasonal, and I mean, we'll probably have it 2 or 3 times throughout the year. But in the summer, we usually don't make that. We make a batch of our oatmeal stout, and we'll break off half of it, and we'll flavor it with various things. But the futsaroo is one of those.
You talked about flavoring, and something just jumped into my head that I have not seen or heard much in years. Remember the Randall? Remember when that was a thing at beer bars?
Randalling. That's right. Did you guys ever run a Randall anywhere? Are you familiar with the Randall?
I don't think I'm familiar with that.
So the Randall, I think it was started by Dogfish Head.
Okay.
But essentially, you put your keg, you connect your keg in line to the Randall, and the Randall would have a container that you could put hop cones, cocoa nibs, chunks of fruit, all this stuff. So you'd push the beer through whatever this additive was. And I remember one of the last places I saw them was when World of Beer opened in Midtown Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
they had 2 Randalls up there where you could see. So it was kind of a.
It would be post. It would be not after it's already been keg packaged up and you're just serving it right through a. You're pressuring it through some other ingredients. We did that with a French press.
We did it at home with a French press.
On home brewing, but so you've not experienced this greatness. Okay,
I'm not Randalling.
How did it work out? Was it good?
For maybe 2-3 years, Brian. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
It seemed like a hot thing that was everywhere.
It was the thing for like people would go to a bar because the Randall was so-and-so beer Randalled on cocoa nibs, habaneros. They take this base stout that was delicious and then Randall it through cocoa nibs, habaneros, and bourbon chips and coffee or something like that. And results were good. It was effective.
When we did it with the Mexican chocolate stout that we homebrewed,
burnt the life out of ourselves.
Using habaneros and various other things and whiskey chips. So quick. It really made a huge difference. It really did. So it was a very quick and easy way to kind of alter your beer and see what you might get out of it. And I'm a little surprised that's disappeared because people
are wondering why they aren't doing it anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Just kind of, it was a quiet. That you know what? If anybody listening knows of a place that's still Randalling, let us know. We want to know if they're still out there.
In these days of seltzers and Berliners that are heavily fruited or heavily added to, like why wouldn't you consider running it through a Randall, taking a base and just blasting it?
And that was the thing. There's places that would take a Pilsner or a Berliner or something like that, just load it up with fruit or Lucky Charms or Tricks or Rice Krispie treats,
as you do, yes,
and run the beer through there. And it was a popular gimmick for a little while.
I feel like the old guy yelling at clouds with this. I mean,
I know we've been drinking too long.
I think so. So
Brian remembers when beer used to come in clay pots.
That's right. So, amphoras, we called them. Yes, amphoras.
Let me get an amphora of ale. Good stuff. Nick, you gonna start Randalling? Is it
that maybe it's gonna be bouncing around in my head, and then in a month or two I'll be like, hey Tom, you know that Randall thing?
Let's do it. Right. I mean, because they even got to where they were like instructions to do your homebrew Randall and stuff. So
well, at this point, because they're not very popular, you could probably find some old Randall gear for super cheap, right?
Someone post a picture of the Randall laid over in a corner. It's like, remember when?
That's right. Spider webs.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
Yes, that doesn't seem high on the list there.
Oh man.
Nick, you mentioned something. I know we hear a lot of breweries talking about like using local ingredients, but you mentioned something to us that I thought was kind of cool. You said of all the beers, a little bit of Iowa in it, correct?
Yeah. Every one that we sent you, unfortunately not every single one that we make, but every one that we sent you, now that it's occurring to me, has a little bit of Iowa. Even that new Vienna has a little bit of Iowa grown nugget in there for bittering.
That's pretty cool. How do hops do in Iowa? I never even thought about them as a hop growing location.
Well, I know our distributor works with 6 local growers. I worked with 2 this past season. I actually did 3 wet hop beers, including the Driftless that you're drinking that actually has wet nugget in there. It's pretty cool. It's really interesting because there's definitely a very distinctive terroir to the Iowa hops as compared to your Pacific Northwest hops. I think they lean a little fruity and maybe sometimes a little more floral as opposed to a little more bitter and resinous. And I really like that. I think it adds some unique notes to our beers. You can't really reproduce those. No one else can make the Cascade Blonde Ale because no one else is buying Cedar Falls
Iowa Cascades, right? Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, until they hear me talking about it.
That's right.
Exactly.
So they try Cascade.
I think you said that the Driftless Double, the dipper that we're drinking, is the one that has the, in terms of all the ingredients, the most Iowa in it. Is that correct? Like malts, grains, everything?
Entirely Iowa, yeah. So that's all Iowa grown barley, malted in Cascade from Miller Malting Company. All Iowa grown hops. I think it's between our 2 top collaborators, Bob's Top Farms and Cedar Falls Hops. And then we also got some local honey to, round out that
cool.
ABV, a little bit of sweetness.
Do you play around with any wild ales, Nick? Is there have you captured local yeast?
No, we have not done that. We're a little cramped in our location to
to throw wild
seriously
stuff in there.
consider that just
Gotcha.
yeah.
When you do, and again, no charge for this consultation, Aya Wild.
Okay.
Aya Wild.
So yeah,
All right, I'll keep that to myself. I won't let
there
the
you
other
go.
Iowa
That's
brewers,
right.
yeah.
Don't
that really
one.
trips off the tongue, Tim. Really,
Wild.
really trips off the tongue. It's fantastic.
It does. Don't be jealous, Brian. Don't be getting too
so
jealous.
So are you doing collaboration beers with other breweries in Iowa, or is it mostly collaborations with organizations and producers of ingredients for beer?
I guess I just meant more local collaborations with people we worked with as far as hop growers, the maltsters, the pumpkin beer I gave you. There's local pumpkin, locally grown pumpkin that I caramelized myself. Local coffee from a place in Cascade called Cheryl's, right across the street from where I live. And this place, Cheryl's, I want to plug it briefly. They blow me away. Everything they do.
Go Cheryl's.
Yeah, Cheryl Wood over in
Cheryl Wood. Go give the full plug, Nick. Tell us.
I'm going to.
Let's do it.
Everything they do is from scratch. Everything down to the bread, down to the sauces, everything. So she's a baker. She has maybe a dozen different baked goods, always different stuff every single day. They have different lunch specials. They'll have a vegan special every week.
Man, I want to go now. What was the name of the business again?
It's just called Cheryl's Flower Garden and Bakery.
There you go.
In Dyersville. Or is it Cascade? Cascade. All right. We'll get it right.
Sounds
Cascade,
good to
Iowa.
Me, man.
There
Sounds
you go.
good to me.
Named after the hops. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works, right? The city was named after the hops. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Could be. Guys, we've got a couple minutes left. Is there anything else you want people to know? You know what? There is. I can't believe I waited this long.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Tom, I would like to say that I made it almost through the full show without any cheesy puns in relation to if you brew it, will they drink? Just right now is how far I made it before I said that. So,
Field of Dreams is 2 miles away, 3 miles away from our brewery. And we're very fortunate to have that there. It's been an amazing thing. I grew up maybe a mile from the field. And when they did the last scene of the movie, my parents were in the last car with the lights, on.
Okay,
remember the movie? And then the scene was over. They backed up and pulled in the driveway. That's where I grew up. So to have it develop into what it is, and to have a Major League Baseball game this year with the Yankees and White Sox was just surreal. It was really amazing. And then Frank Thomas and his group bought the field, and I'm really confident that what they're going to do with it will be positive for our community. But yeah, it's just been a really great thing for us. We got the Cubs and Reds next year, and
really, that's awesome. Okay. Now, Tom, when you and I first started talking, I think your appearance on the show was delayed a little bit because there was something happening that week. Field of Dreams. Do they have a big annual event around that?
I'm trying to remember when that was. They do a lot of different events out there.
Okay.
They've got kids camps. They have kids tournaments all summer long. They do New York Fire Department against the Chicago Fire Department out there. They do a lot of cool things. But I can't remember exactly what was going on that weekend.
Okay, gotcha.
It wasn't the game, I don't think, because that was in August. But
okay,
yeah,
cool stuff, man. Cool stuff.
Well, that is very cool being that close to that, because that's such a legendary movie. I was going to watch it before this. I did not. I
was too. Yes. I have to put it on the list. So
yeah, indeed.
I've been watching football. I've been watching English with Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Are you guys on Ted Lasso?
I caught a couple episodes. It's good stuff, man. It
is good stuff.
The next episode of Beer Guys Radio is all Ted Lasso talk. Right. That is it. Tom, thank you. Nick, thank you. Tom, if people want to keep up with what is happening at Textile Brewing Company, what is the best way for them to do that?
I would just look us up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all of those. And our marketer is amazing, and she constantly keeps everybody updated on what's going on.
Fantastic, guys. Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us on.
You bet. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Join us next week as we talk with Doka Beer. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers. Done. We did it.
We did.
Looks like we made it.
Success.
That was great.
Cool. Absolutely. Tom, Nick, hold on just a second. We're going to sign off on the stream here and then chat with you a second. Everyone, thank you for joining us here online. We definitely appreciate it. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Come join us. Tell your friends. Doka beer. We're going to drink a kimchi beer.
Kimchi beer. Yes. I've heard
and
about this.
Bamboo
Pilsner.
Yeah. So it's just going to get crazy. But thanks so much, y'all. Have a great week, and we will see you next week.